And we are right back at it. It's your boy, the coach, here with Jesse Naylor on your weekly installment of Cover 2. And welcome back to the Coach's Huddle where the field meets family. And we are here to go through the latest week's topics. And obviously, the only thing to talk about here with the Niners is contracts and draft, baby. We got lots to catch up with. I'm here with my boy, as mentioned before. What's up, Jess? How you doing?
Doing good, Coach. I can't believe it, man. All these mock drafts, all the conversations, it comes to a head in 3 days. I love draft weekend. I'm very, very excited to just see what happens, man. You've heard rumors of trading up. We've heard rumors of trading back. I know that we've had conversations about all of us seem to be worried about Trent Williams and does he retire? And are we just going to find out on draft night? So I think that's going to be fun. I'm just excited to get this thing going.
They're saying that both channels are muted. Hold on. Frisco is saying that we're muted. Do you got volume right now, Jess?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Hold on.
Well, shoot.
I don't know. We're good. We're having you're saying both channels are muted. Hold on.
That's not true.
Hold on. Caesar says we can hear.
No,
now we can hear you guys.
I can hear. We're good.
Sound is fine. Frisco, you got to get the Boost Mobile together, Frisco. Come on, Shields. You got us over here pressing buttons, pulling levers. Come on. Good Lord.
Oh,
all right.
Oh, my gosh.
Let's get back into it, man. All right. So, look, we're getting back into, like we said, recap and review. We're going through the latest week's topics. And really, as Jesse just mentioned, it's draft time. We're excited about it. I'm thrilled. We finally get a picture that has been hazy earlier in the year. It's starting to come into focus, right? We're starting to see some of the names that we were high on completely be ridiculous names that we mentioned in the top 11 now, right? I mean, I'm old enough to remember I was a hard James Pierce Jr. guy at 11. Walter Nolan are some names that everybody liked at 11. Mike Green got floated around. Tyler Warren got floated around. We've talked about Will Campbell. Shamar Stewart has been talked about as high as going to not only us, but Chicago Bears. So we've had a lot of, kind of chasing all of the snowflakes in the air and letting the dust settle. But what I want to get to is now the moneymakers, the big guys, the media guys who have been sitting back listening to all of this backdoor conversations and correspondence, they've gotten a chance to start chirping. Not only Chris Sims, who we all know is his relationship with Kyle Shanahan, head coach, is well documented, but Adam Schefter has also reported that there is a prevailing wind or comments about Brock Purdy to the Steelers for pick 21. Let's talk logic versus lunacy, and how would this shake the 49ers core? First of all, do you buy it? Yes.
No, this was Chris Sims throwing out something. It's
Adam
interesting. Schefter didn't throw this out.
Shefty put it out there. I can find it.
Didn't.
All right, you talk.
I don't believe you.
You talk. Go.
I'm calling Cap and Crunch.
Let's go.
Anyway,
let's go.
Here's the deal. Sims threw this out there. I love the idea. It's brilliant. And if Brock Purdy was going to go for a first round pick, like that's a great spot for it. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that there's any real legs to it other than it's Chris Sims. Him and Kyle Shanahan are really, really good friends. So I think anytime Chris Sims has an opinion, we assume it's coming from Kyle. I will say this, though. Not that I think that they're looking to trade Brock Purdy, because I feel like that probably would have happened at this point. But I don't buy that Kyle Shanahan's just in love with Brock Purdy the way that some of this fan base does. I don't. And I don't think that Chris Sims would say wild things like this if Kyle Shanahan were truly enthralled with Brock Purdy the way that some fans think he is. I have said it a million times. I don't even think it's a Brock Purdy thing. I just think that Kyle Shanahan is a quarterback polygamist, and there's plenty of guys that he would be totally fine having. So I don't know, man. I don't think there's any legs to it. I think there's less than a 0% chance this happens, but I do think it's interesting chatter the week of.
Right. One thing is that I'm trying to be professional, but right now I'm really trying to find this Adam Schefter tweet that also corroborated this so I can throw this in your face. So that's exactly what I'm doing right now. However, we can multitask. I do think that it doesn't necessarily have legs, but you said it yourself. Kyle is not, I don't think that Kyle is head over heels over Brock Purdy. I think that if any situation raised itself where the Niners could get better, I think that they would immediately have that conversation. I mean, now one could hear that comment and say, well, coach, duh, anybody would have a conversation that's intriguing enough. But that's not what I mean. I feel like the energy that's been pushed out of the Niners so far is that they want us to believe, right, is that Brock Purdy is a can't miss guy, right? We're lock, stock, and barrel for you to even question Brock Purdy being the starting quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, not only presently, but in the foreseeable future and beyond, is kind of a joke, right? It's almost a laugh forever. They damn near want you to lose credibility for even having the conversation. So there's smoke there. And that's my opinion. And I do believe that if they can find a way to get out from under these contract negotiations, which I think that this would have gotten done had Brock Purdy shown that he was, malleable at least, right? Are the Niners being that disrespectful for the contract negotiations, what they're offering for Brock to even budge for them to have a deal done? There is a conversation where do you believe that this is a year where they do anything if the deal doesn't get done? Or do you believe that, they take it to the bitter end and say, all right, we tried, you're still on the deal, strap up and play. Let's pause negotiations, so to speak.
Well, I mean, I feel like John Lynch kind of already said that when he was asked during the scouting combine. He's like, well, there's no guarantee it gets done. And, the league rules are in our favor. It's, if we don't get a deal done, then we don't get a deal done. But he's still our player, basically. So I thought that was a weird comment to make at that time. Nobody asked. We understand the rules too. Thanks, John. We get it. You have 2 franchise tags after this if you want. I think either a deal gets done or it doesn't. I don't foresee him being traded. Now, I could see a scenario if they truly aren't able to come to a deal this year, that they franchise tag him and trade him next offseason. I could see a scenario like that. I just think that ultimately a deal gets done. But again, there are comments out there. Jed York had the comment at the end of the owners' meetings. Yes, he said, hey, he's top 10 with Kyle Shanahan and everything we put around him. But the real comment that got me was this deal will get done when Brock is ready to get the deal done. Meaning we're done. You come to the table. And when you're ready to come to the table, the deal is there and you accept it. That's the way that I took that. And so for me, it does seem like the 49ers are playing a little bit of hardball here. No, it's not out of the ordinary based off of what they've done in the past. No, when you look at other quarterback contracts, when they've been signed, it's not out of the ordinary that it's taking this long. To me, what is out of the ordinary, though, is the way that they are discussing the contract, the way they are discussing Brock Purdy. It's not the way that you discuss a franchise quarterback. These things weren't said about Jordan Love or Tua or Dak or any of these guys. We can talk about, well, they got paid, so Brock deserves it. Sure, that's fine. But they didn't talk about their quarterback the same way that the 49ers are. That's what's peculiar to me. So,
well, I don't think that is peculiar at all. The money kind of makes sense. You're going to say what you need to in order to put the asses in the seats, correct? Right. So there's no.
You don't think it's peculiar that they're saying in one side of their mouth that they believe they have a franchise quarterback, and then the other side is like, well, the league rules are in our favor. We don't have to do anything. I feel like if you truly feel like you have a franchise quarterback, you don't talk about that player like that. You just say, hey, we'll keep things private. We plan on getting a deal done. Once we got a deal done, we'll let you know. You don't say things like league rules are in our favor. Well, when Brock's ready to come to the table there, he's a top 10 quarterback if he has Kyle Shanahan and the players around him. Like, you don't talk about your franchise quarterback that you just absolutely are in love with like that. That's like, hey man, so you gonna marry your girl? Yeah, probably. I mean, there's nobody else better. Oh, okay. I thought you loved her. Well, I do, when things are going well. Okay, so you love her or you don't? What's going on here?
Okay, well, look, man.
The shit's chess, it ain't checkers.
You got to understand something right now, brother. We got a little bit of propaganda going on in front of us, Jess, and I'm not here to say that I'm the lone 49ers content creator, i.e. fan, that understands the tea leaves. I'm not going that far. But what I am doing is I'm trusting this organization and what they've shown me. And one thing that they have shown, Jess, is that they will do anything to make sure that they maintain the fan base, that they maintain their following. And fans want to hear certain things, and they want, when things get at their absolute bitter worst, they want to hear the best version. Nobody wants the worst case scenario. Nobody wants a dose of truth at all. It doesn't necessarily rally the fan base if Jed or Kyle comes out and they say, well, honestly, we think Brock is the perfect bridge for us. We're not going to pay him market money that's going to completely tank the entire team. And right about now, we're trying to get him on the cheap and get him to realize his true worth so we don't kill the future while we're trying to pay for all of the horrible drafts and moves that we had trying to keep a team around him. That doesn't necessarily play well in the media guide on week 1. So what I'm saying is that they're going to say what they need to say for the soundbite. The soundbite is what you're saying. He's a franchise quarterback. He's the guy we believe in. Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback with Kyle Shanahan and all of that other stuff. That superfluous like BS. But the other side is what we know to be true, but seeps out in real time in front of us. Like ending a press conference with, well, when Brock Purdy's ready to come to the table, he knows where to find us practically, right? Or being able to pick up comments like, hey, well, Brock Purdy, this man is a billionaire, Jesse. There's less than 1,000 of them in America. There's only 870 some odd billionaires in America. He's one of them. The man knows how to answer a straightforward question. And when he's asked a yes or no question and he answers with a pamphlet, we obviously know that he's lying. All right. So when Brock Purdy, when Jed York is asked specifically if Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback, and he can't answer with a simple yes or no, and he's got to come back, well, with Kyle, he's a top 10 quarterback, then we already know he's not, but you can't say that right now. Also, he's not, and you want him to see that you're saying that he's not because you're trying to get him to sign an amount of money that he wants more of, right? So, you know what we're going to normalize this year, Jesse? And I know you're going to love this. Every now and then, there's these pockets of our dialogue where we forget that we're content creators and we start talking like we do when we're behind closed doors and we're on the phone. And this is one of those times. You know what, Jesse? We're going to start normalizing straight common sense talk. Like, no more of putting the dressing around things that people have said. Well, Jed said that Brock was a franchise guy. All right, and I got a bridge to sell you. If he thought he was a franchise guy, the contract negotiations would be over by now. But they're not. You know why? Because he knows he's not. He knows that he's got a viable face, he's got a good, strong character player, and he's solid, but he's not special. And the reason why he's trying to pay him is so he doesn't mortgage his future while he's trying to keep assets that he already has on the team, one of them being the highest paid coach in professional sports that hasn't won a championship. So that's what this is. I think they're being very clear.
You just think they're just flat out being honest. We like them, but we don't like them that much.
That's what I read. We like him, right? Brock fits our narrative. Brock fits our fan base. Brock fits our culture. We like him, right? And I also think that on the football side, they're saying he is adequate. He accentuates all of the assets that we had. That's at the very least. Jimmy couldn't do that. So he's shown an uptick to at least get all of the assets on board. but he's not driving. He's not going to be the driving force while we win. And until we find somebody who does that, it would be ridiculous to pay him as if he were. But a lot of fans are not going to take that message and feel geared up about the upcoming seasons. A lot of fans that you and I know want to approach the NFL with rose-colored glasses. They want to feel like that they're in the fight, that we got a shot. But the facts is that we got a bridge quarterback who's a good kid, great character, a little overzealous at times, but he's got a lot of gaps and holes. And the biggest thing that we got to realize is that the franchise can keep the fan base together, preserve the crowd, the mob, but at the same time go behind closed doors and do something practical. That's how I feel.
Okay, so let's go with this theory. I like this. Let's go with this theory, though. So we've seen the fan base get upset when people liked Trey Lance, even though the 49ers were the ones that drafted Trey Lance and spent all the assets to do so.
Right.
We've seen the 49er fans get upset when people aren't in love with Brock Purdy to the point where they think he's a franchise quarterback and deserves to get paid. So if the 49ers are saying that out in the open, which I can go with that. I mean, it definitely sounds like that. They don't have a deal done yet. This should have been pretty open and shut case. All the other quarterbacks have been paid. You know what you're looking at. If you truly feel like he's the franchise guy, then you pay him, you move on, and you close that book. The fact that it hasn't happened yet tells me that they do kind of more so agree with someone like myself who doesn't think he's a true franchise quarterback. At what point do the fans start to look at it and say, hey, if you disagree with me as strongly as you say you do, when do you hold your own team accountable?
I think, okay, so this is the ugly truth about sports. We're not really capable of holding anybody accountable. That's just the ugly truth. The ugly truth of it is that they take our money and they close the door behind us, right? And they let us peer in through the blinds or maybe over a bush or two. But this is not a collaborative effort, right? For them, we have like-minded interests because they like money and we like winning. And winning means money, right? And vice versa. So that's the transactional relationship that they have with fans, is that they like money and we like winning. And you know that if you spend money and you win, but if you're spending money and you're not winning, that's the problem, right? So I start holding the team accountable, if you will, is when the moves that they're making fiscally don't match what they're doing in the win-loss column. I love their approach with what they're doing with Brock specifically because we haven't won. Now, a lot of what we have been talking about for years has really looked crazy. We've fallen on the right side of history because it's happened. But a lot of what we talked about, the contracts, overpaying for guys, getting rid of players that we spent high draft picks on, not developing guys, all of this stuff that we've talked about year after year after year, all of that stuff to come off very, for lack of a better term, bitch made because we were winning, right? And nobody wants to hear complaining when you're winning, right? But now that we're in a position where they're not winning, they've got to hear our mouth. They've got to step their game up and they've got to do something because I'm going to tell you this right now. The love affair with sports is that you keep winning and I keep giving you my attention. The Niners are going to do everything that it takes to put asses in the seats because if they keep losing games, there's a lot to do in Santa Clara outside of go to see a Niners. You know what I'm saying? So I think that they understand exactly where they stand as far as where professional sports is. Like, they're not going to sell the farm on Brock because they know sooner or later that tab is going to come due. Just like the Trey Lance tab came due on us. So the Brock Purdy tab is going to come due if they pay him all of that money. And I think they know this. That's why there's a standoff. And that's why I'm proud of them. Honestly, I believe that you're getting exactly what you want behind closed doors. I really do. I believe that there's somebody with your thinking behind closed doors that's looking at Brock and his representation and saying, listen, kid, love what you do. Really. You know, you got us out of a tough spot. I wouldn't be a man if I didn't admit that. But the facts are is that whether you get underpaid or overpaid, you're about to get life-changing money. So let's be a little practical about where you stand as it comes to the future of this organization, right? Like, so I believe that there's somebody having that conversation with Brock. I really do.
Well, I think that I'm confident in that. I'm confident, and I don't know that it's happening with Brock. I mean, his agent is definitely hearing it, but there's definitely people within the 49ers organization that don't view him as a franchise quarterback. There's no way that you have a well-run organization and you don't have some discourse and disagreement. Now, I'm not saying who is and who isn't in that camp. That's not for me to know. But I know that those conversations are happening, and if they weren't happening, this deal would be done. But just like I'm confident that I know that the rest of the league and the quarterback rankings will come out again this year from all the executives, and Brock Purdy won't be ahead of guys like Justin Herbert and the guys that I've said that he's not better than, and that the league will tell you that he's not better than, yet you don't want to hear it. So I'm confident. I'm very confident in what he is and what he's not, and what the league thinks he is and he is not. So it's just up for everybody else to catch up at this point, I guess.
I got you. Let's knock out some super chats before we get to the next topics. Dave Barclay, 199. Thank you. Coaching just on dab time. Brick sucks. Fire Kyle. Brock sucks. Fire Kyle. I got you. That's 187. $5. Thank you. We're obviously worse, but how much worse are the 49ers really with Mac and a rookie QB instead of Brock?
To this point, Des, I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I don't know what Mac is or Mac is not. But again, everybody has this conversation the wrong way. The conversation is always, well, if Brock goes, who are you going to get that's as good as him? It's not about getting somebody that's as good as Brock. It's, can you get 85% of Brock Purdy at a fraction of the cost? If Brock Purdy is $50 million, and we get it, it'll fluctuate year to year based on how the contract is structured, but let's just go with firm numbers. If Brock Purdy is $50 million and is 100% of Brock, and I can get Mac Jones at $5 million, can he be 85% as good as Brock? And if he is that enough to not pay the extra $45 million? And the answer is yes. Of course it is. And do I think he can be 85% of Brock? It's more likely than being 100% of Brock.
I was waiting for you to say yeah. I was waiting for you to go off the deep end.
but the question is if they draft, let's say they take Buddy from Syracuse. I'm forgetting his name right now. You take Buddy from Syracuse and you pair him with Mac Jones. Do I think one of those guys at a fraction of the cost
Kyle McCord.
Be 85%? Yeah, Kyle McCord. Be 85% of Brock? I do. Yes, I do.
I believe that as well. And also, if you think about it, we've been to the promised land with Brock with a hellified roster around him. If we know that we don't have the roster, and there was a time to take a half step back on quarterback, now would be the time, right? Brock's not going to lead us to a Super Bowl anyway, so now would be the time to cook the tires on that if it presented itself.
Well, also real quick though, you know what else it would be the time for is just letting it play out, because the 49ers didn't make the playoffs last year. Okay. If Jed York is looking at this, truly looking at this, saying, okay, well, Kyle Shanahan has 2 years left on his deal, I expect that they make the playoffs this year. I don't care what we've taken away. There's still enough talent on this team, which he said as much. There's still plenty of talent on this team. If Kyle Shanahan is who he has said to be, and if John Lynch is who he said to be, and Brock Purdy is who his agent thinks he is, they better make the playoffs. But instead of locking anybody up long-term right now, I'm going to make everybody prove it. And if they can prove it this year, I'll pay Brock, I'll extend Kyle, and the show goes on. But if you don't make it, I've got an out on every single one of you, and I am willing to use it. So I'm just going to sit here and do nothing this offseason. I think that's a fair point too.
Yeah, I don't mind that as well. I think also, like you said, them sitting on it and just making them play their way out of this and coach their way out of this and seeing where the chips fall, I believe that that's perfect. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's street justice as far as I'm concerned. You got yourself in it. I was behind you. I pushed the gas pedal when the momentum was going. I never stayed in front of your way. There's nothing I said no to. There's no trade that I didn't facilitate. Got a guy. Not only, this is one thing, this is the reason why I believe that the organization has all the right in the world to quote unquote lowball Brock Purdy. Is because none of this happens if Jed York gets in the way. If Jed York rightfully says, you're playing Trey Lance. Fuck that. No, we spent all of this capital on him. You're not running him. You're going to slow the whole team down and you're going to work with Trey Lance. Or if he said, no, we're not doing that. We're keeping Jimmy. Hell no. After the money that we just paid George, after the money that we just paid Debo, all of that shit that we just been through, and now all of a sudden you're trying to sell me on Mr. Irrelevant? No. Play your way through this. We wouldn't even have gotten this far. There's a lot that Jed has sat back and just let the process cook and facilitated it money-wise. So honestly, I have no qualms about the organization tightening the screws on Brock Purdy or Kyle Shanahan. I don't. Let's get into the next. Go ahead.
I don't either. I mean, I see it from both sides. Like, again, now if we talk about it from Brock Purdy's side, I understand why Brock Purdy and his agent are asking for what they're asking for. And I don't think they're crazy to ask for it. I think they should. I just root for the jersey, not the player's name on the back of the jersey. And so for me, I'm rooting that the team wins in these negotiations.
Mm-hmm. I agree as well. Let's get to our next topic. Get to our next topic. But San Francisco may trade back from pick 11. We already talked about trading up last week. I believe that was on, what was that on? The coaches, not the coaches huddle, but four-man front. Adam Schefter and Matt Mayoka report that the 49ers could trade back from pick 11. Would they risk passing on top-tier talent, or is this a smart move to collect extra capital? What say you, Jess?
Yeah, I think the smart move has always been to trade back. There's an argument to be made for so many different prospects, and I don't think anybody's wrong. I think it comes down to personal preference. I think there's 10 to 14 guys you can really make the argument for. I think it would be great if they could trade back. My whole thing is, who is there to trade back with realistically? Now, I think a week or two ago, it really looked like Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart was going to go 9 to the Saints. I don't know that that's true anymore. I think that there was some confusion around Derek Carr and his shoulder injury, and maybe he wants to be traded. And so he's put this information out there. But I don't think it's a slam dunk or even likely at this point that the Saints go quarterback at 9. So if quarterbacks fall, I think that helps the 49ers case to potentially trade back. I also think it helps their case the longer that a guy like Warren or Loveland, one of these tight ends, stick around. I think that also helps their case, a Tet McMillan. And I think one of, if not all of those guys are going to be available at 11. So it is becoming more possible that the 49ers can trade back. I still don't think it's likely, but if there is a scenario in which they can trade back, absolutely on board with it. Definitely do it. I would prefer they trade back versus trade up. I think you're certainly getting a better prospect if you trade up, a more for sure guy, let's say Armand Membu, what have you. But if you're giving up assets, you're taking less throws at the dartboard. And we all know the 49ers need every throw at that dartboard if they're going to be successful in a draft.
I'm torn between this because I'm a best player available guy in the least best player available draft in like the past 10 to 15 years. There's not a lot of apex predators in the draft. I just got to be honest. There's a ton of starters. Let's not get that twisted, right? But what I mean is can't miss guys that are going to come in and be difference makers with no problems. Almost guys that played 1 year of college football too soon, right? Too late, right? Where they were ready for the league the last year they played. I'll tell you this. one thing that you've got to get on with this, as far as understanding where the Niners are going to go in the draft, is, for me, there's about 1 to 2 position groups that truly have somebody special that truly should be picked at 11, right? And I've done a lot more watching. It is very hard for me to say that Armand Mimbu is really the best tackle in this year's draft when Josh Simmons is hurt, right? Josh Simmons, healthy, is by far the best left tackle in this year's draft. It is no question, right? That's not to take anything away from Armand Mimbu, but I can't grift and act like Armand is the best we've seen. He's not. He's very good. Well, we've seen better than Armand Mimbu at left tackle.
But with the injury taken into account, Mimbu is the best. I mean, you can't take a risk, especially the 49ers, who lost Weston Richburg and are going through the same exact injury with Drake Jackson, whose career might be over. You can't think that the 49ers honestly think at pick 11 that would be the best option, knowing that they've gone through it. Or excuse me, not even that. Would have him ranked above Mimbu. That's fair.
Well, first of all, I'm not. There's not a world where I'm saying that at 11 the Niners should pick Josh Simmons above Armand Mimbu, right? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, nuts to bolts, Josh Simmons is a better player to me. But in the vacuum right now, Armand Mimbu is the better option because of the point in time where we're at. You could look at Josh Simmons a year from now and say that what Josh Simmons has turned into versus what Armand Mimbu has turned into, we could have a completely different conversation. All I'm saying is that there's enough data right there for us to bear that for us to make an argument for that conversation down the line, right? As it means towards the draft. I'm a best player available guy, but I believe the more and more that I look at all of the prospects that we have this year, there's only really 2 position groups, in my opinion, that are worth trading up for or staying at 11. And that's at edge, or if we get an edge, or if we possibly need a tackle, right? Or like if we need a tackle, an edge, possibly a corner. But in my opinion, I'm not that high on Abdul Carter anymore. I don't think that I think that the number one thing that you need with pass rushing is speed to power, especially with NFL tackles. That's why NFL tackles are NFL tackles, because they bring the athleticism that you need on the outside, but they also have the strength not to get ran over and to be able to hand down the edge. I think Abdul Carter is not an edge. I think he's an outside linebacker. I don't think he's going to be able to put his hand in the dirt consistently or go against tackle. I don't think that he's necessarily that stout against the run. I don't. And for me, I almost feel as though that if the Niners don't have either Jalen Walker or Kyle Williams in their sights at 11, they should trade back. I think that this is one of the deepest defensive tackle drafts that we've seen in a long time. I mean, there's defensive tackles that I'm finding about this week that are still ridiculously talented. I mean, you're talking about guys like who's the tackle out of Texas that plays next to Vernon Broughton, another tackle 3 technique that kid's a starter, Jesse. And they're talking about him going in the 3rd round. You can find starters in this year's draft for exactly what we need on day 3, on day 2. So, look, and then I want to touch on another element too, Jess. It's not just what we can do in the draft, but it also stands to bear what we can do moving on in the future. We didn't just screw off one draft. We screwed off a couple of drafts, right, with the picks that we did. And it would stand to bear for us to have some more picks moving into next year. And I think that that's something that we could do as well moving back into this draft. It's not about what you get from the draft, but it's what you can make from it. That's who wins the draft, right? Who puts themselves in their best position. I think that this draft, I think that this draft is prime for the Niners to build quality depth. Usually in a draft that has your traditional heavy hitter guys, your top level guys, everybody's just trying to find the best guy at a later round. I think that this is the year that you can get starters all over the place if you're thinking about depth. If you're thinking about tip of the spear guys, you could miss the plot this year. This year's about depth. I think trading back will be good.
No, I completely agree with you. I think that's one thing that has become abundantly clear about this draft is I feel like rounds 4 through 7 are deeper than I can ever remember, to be real. And I think, first round, it's like, okay, you're not getting the dude at pick 11. You're going to be taking a risk one way or another, but there is depth pieces. But I also do want to be clear. As much as I love guys rounds 4 through 7, and I think there's a bunch of guys worth taking flyers on, when I look at a let's say a CJ West from Indiana, who I love in round 3, round 4, whatever, wherever he's going to go, that doesn't then mean he's as talented as Walter Nolan. Yes, he's good, and you can add him to the roster, and he might be able to create his way to a nice little career. But the difference, prospect-wise, between him and Walter Nolan is a wide one. So, yes, you can get a lot of defensive tackles, but that doesn't mean that they're all top-tier defensive tackles. And once Walter Nolan's off the board, or whoever that is for you, it doesn't have to be Walter Nolan. It could be, Graham. It could be whoever that is, Tyleik Williams. There's a breaking point where the talent drops off pretty significantly. Doesn't mean you can't get good guys. But if you feel like, hey, there's a lot of good defensive tackles late, but this guy's the clear best one, and I got him right here, doesn't mean you shouldn't take him because there's a bunch of guys you could take later to build depth. So that's why the whole thing's going to get interesting to me.
Hey, man.
The shit's chess. It ain't checkers.
We got to talk about this for a little bit, brother.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, what if I told you that the only difference between Walter Nolan and Vernon Broughton is that Walter Nolan just has more notoriety. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about with this draft. It's not value, but I believe that there is wholesale misrepresentation of what these players are in this year's draft. I believe that there's starters up and down this draft. Savion Williams, you know who Savion Williams is, right? The kid out of TCU. Savion Williams is better than Ted McMillan. He's a better player than him.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I know that that's my opinion. I'm speaking as if like I read that out of the dictionary. Like, but what I'm saying is that there are real discussions up and down the draft about players who people are saying, oh, this is a 4th round guy. Oh, this is the 3rd round. You know, Vernon Broughton is the D tackle out of Texas, is slotted to go 3rd round, late 3rd. Have you seen him play?
I have.
That kid's way better than the freaking kid out of Oregon, Derek Harmon, and the kid out of Michigan. Kenneth Grant's a can't miss guy, man. Come on, bro. Like, Kenneth Grant splashes, but Kenneth Grant ain't he ain't the top 5 best D tackle in this year's draft, man.
Oh, I don't disagree with that.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is that you can't tell me that Derek Harmon or Tyleik, you can't tell me that let's go Walter Nolan is that much more disrupted than Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State. Can you tell me that?
I like Tyleik. I like Tyleik Williams. He's probably my 2nd highest graded defensive tackle. So I wouldn't say that that's a big difference. They're different players, but I like Tyleik.
You peep what I'm saying though.
And when you talk about Harmon, I mean, I'm an Oregon Duck fan. I love all Oregon Ducks, but Harmon disappears for long stretches. Like, I've watched Derek Harmon play a lot of football live. he disappears. So when people are like, oh, he's the number 11 and take him over Nolan, it's like, all right, I guess. I mean,
talk about Oregon Ducks, motherfucker, Darkwing Duck, hiding all over the place.
At the same time, though, I mean, to me, Walter Nolan is the best defensive tackle prospect in this draft. So when you say him and Broughton are separated by this much or even, or Broughton's better, that's your opinion. I completely disagree.
Let me tell you something. It's players on here that don't even deserve to be mentioned in the first round, right? It's just, they got.
Thanks for coming around. Thanks for coming around to the argument I made with you 2 weeks ago that you didn't want to hear. I love it.
Hear me out. 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 Like, they have to make a show. They got to make a show. This is the draft. The draft is its own thing. They just can't show up and not play. All right. Shamar Stewart barely knows how to play football, bro. He has no technique. He's a workout warrior. And they're talking about this kid is clay. Like, no, he ain't. I feel as though that this would be the year to grab as many picks as you can. I'm just being honest. Like, I think that this year, trading back, going to go get as many guys. If you try to go get the best guy in every round, you're going to end up with a bunch of bullshit this year. I guarantee you. Because nobody's clearly better than anybody this year. Now, of course, don't get it twisted. There's a 7th round for a reason. So we're not going to go that far. Like, there's disparity in talent, right, up and down the draft. But what I'm saying is that you usually see the draft start to thin out later round 3, starting round 4, right? The draft starts thinning out. The names start going away. There are names up and down this draft all over the place. And I think that the king of the draft is going to be who's walking away with the most picks and who sits back and gets the most guys. I love us trading back, especially if the guys are there. I don't want Mike Green. I don't want Abdul Carl. I can tell you the guys that everybody loves that I know that you and I don't even want to make it seem as though that it's you and I, that it's me. It's you and I. There are some guys, I can name some guys right now off rip that I know you wouldn't want if they were there. You don't, Mason Graham. No. Come on. Will Campbell. No. Tyler Warren at 11. No. You know what? I'm about to say something crazy. Jahad Campbell at 11. No.
I wouldn't want him now.
No. I'm changing on Jahad. I love you, Jahad. Damn it. I love you, boy. But I got to do it. Mike Green.
See, but there's guys that I'm okay with. Like, again, if they took Jahad Campbell or they took Will Campbell, like, I'll listen to the argument. I genuinely will. I think it's a fair argument to make. It's not who I would go with. But if you said, hey, I'm going to take this guy, it's like, all right, well, I mean, who am I to argue? You know as much as I do. I mean, you watch film like I did. So if you like him, you like him. But that's the problem at 11 is if you don't trade back, your risk of getting a bad prospect or a bust at 11 is very high. Very high. It's as high, if not higher, than getting a good prospect. I love Walter Nolan. But again, we are still talking prospects. Prospects are not sure things, especially in a draft like this. Once you get past those top tier guys, there is no guarantees. There just isn't.
Agreed, Jess. Love you, man. Let's get into our next topic. Well, let's get into some super chats. Did we read this? Given the Niners' inability to identify or develop a QB, why should anyone believe the Niners could find a QB better than Purdy? Did we read this already?
I don't know if we did or not. And again, they don't have to find somebody better than Purdy. They just have to find somebody at a fraction of the cost of Purdy at 85% of him. And I think that is very possible. The Niners did it with Jimmy Garoppolo. What are we talking about?
Frisco wants to debate you. I feel the tone in his super chats. Dave Barclay, 199. We will be better, Daza. Brock can't get wet. Yo, you guys are nuts. Dave Barclay 199.
Yeah, gremlin.
I thought, I stopped.
Cute, cuddly little gizmo.
All I'm doing, I'm reading the words. I'm reading the chat before I say it out loud, and all I saw was "get wet," and I was like, "Let me process this before I say it out loud." What is he saying? Like this hates moist. Okay, hold on. Oh, Brock start a family when he hates. See, this is the stuff that I can't get with you guys. This is a family show. My God. Next super chat, Frisco. Nope. Dazza, $2. Why pay Ferrari money for a Toyota? Agreed. Also, Kent, $10. Thank you. Kyle and Lynch are on a ticking clock now. I'd say maybe 2, possibly 3 more seasons to win a Super Bowl. If Brock is a bridge, they have to get the franchise guy this year, right? So trade up for Cam Ward. I don't think they have to do it this year, even if that was the plan. I don't think they would have to go get a guy. And Cam Ward's awesome, but I think that would be overkill. What do you think?
Again, Cam Ward's not a perfect prospect himself. I don't know that he's a for sure franchise guy. 1. 2, Tennessee's not going to give him up, so that's not going to happen. And 3, it's just don't pay Brock. Like, it's that simple. Don't pay Brock, and if you do, don't give him a long-term deal that cripples your franchise. Give yourself a way out after 1 or 2 years, and you'll be fine.
Oh yeah, let's get into the next super chat. Matt Sanders, $4.99. Brock needs a chip on his shoulder. Play hard, draft a QB, keep him uncomfortable. He still needs to prove it. It's a win-win for front office. I think they're doing. I mean, that's going to happen regardless, right?
Yeah, I don't know that I don't know if they're going to draft a guy, but Mac is there, and that's why I think that Brock. I mean, I think we're going to get into the topic about showing up and not showing up. That's why I think Brock has to show up. You can't. You can.
We're going to get into it.
Kyle fall in love with Mac Jones. You just can't.
And you know what's sad about this? That is a huge possibility. Spider 369 199. Thanks, bud. Once Mac came, I knew Purdy was done. That leads us to our next topic. Let's just go ahead and do it. So, next topic. This isn't about Brock Purdy, but it's just about numerous guys, but we'll get right into it. Take this down. Are the 49ers headed for another offseason of drama? What we're specifically talking about is last year with Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, and what we know was Deommodore Lenoir, but he got his deal done quietly. Now on the block are Brock Purdy, George Kittle, and Fred Warner, and still no long-term answers for the 3 of them. With reports that George Kittle and the 49ers are far apart on negotiation contracts. Fred Warner's deal has said to be all but stale, which is no talks at all have been going on with Fred Warner's extension. And we've just gone through the well-documented events of Brock Purdy's contract negotiations. And don't look now, but the offseason program started today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Starts tomorrow, right. So officially the offseason program undergoes tomorrow. Are we seeing anybody not showing up tomorrow? Are these guys going to show up, or is this the start of the drama? What do we got? What do we have looking forward?
I mean, I would say Kittle doesn't show. I mean, but this is going off on what Mike Silver says, but I agree with this. I mean, Kittle was just drinking beers at Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I doubt he's going to be there anyways. So it sounds like Kittle's not going to be there. I think Brock shows up no matter what. I don't think that means that a deal is closer to getting done or whatever he said. It doesn't mean that it's not close to getting done. That's not what I'm saying. But I think Brock shows no matter what. I think Fred shows no matter what. I want to know what Trent Williams is doing. That's what I want to know. That wasn't mentioned in here because he's not fighting for a contract. But what is Trent Williams doing? Trent Williams is a guy who missed all of last offseason. Trent Williams is a guy who missed the end of last season. We haven't heard from him since October on any social media post. And every single one of us at one time or another this offseason has speculated on whether he's coming back or not. Now, him showing up definitely puts that fire out.
That would be a good faith gesture.
It would put all that fire out. Him not showing up doesn't mean he's retiring or you know what I mean? But it definitely keeps the flames stoked in this fire. It's definitely not helping things. Now, the problem is that Trent, I think traditionally as a veteran, he doesn't show up to these things. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary. But if he does show up, it definitely ends any conversation about Trent Williams and possibly retiring or whatever that conversation is. I would love to see him there. I don't think he's going to be there either way. And so that's not really going to help us figure out if he's staying or going.
This why you my dog, bro. We ain't even get a chance to talk and prep for the show today. That's exactly why I raised this. My sleeper topic was going to be, man, I do not care or am worried about Brock, George, or Fred showing up. The main guy who flies under the radar is Trent Williams. That's Debo. That's the guy where, I just get this feeling that they quote, like, I know this is not true, but I got a funny, dark sense of humor. And I just get the feeling that Trent Williams walks around on a beach cruiser with a plaid shirt on with a gold necklace, riding his bike down the hallways like, yo, Trent's coming. Everybody look busy. Like, yo, you feel like practicing today, Trent? Like, what beach cruiser? My beach cruiser, punk. Like, I feel as though that they give him a lot of latitude to do what he needs to do. I think part of it is because of the attitude that Trent brings to the team, which helps the culture. I also feel as though that Kyle, they drafted him, so he dotes on him a lot. But there is an element to this where I'm 50-50. I'm 50-50 on if Trent plays. Honestly. I'm there's nothing about this offseason that is strengthened my position that Trent Williams is going to be suited up for the offseason program. Now, like you said, and I have to say it too, disclaimer, Trent shows up tomorrow, all of this is going to look horrible on YouTube. So kill us in the comments. But
no, it's not, because we said that if he shows up, it's clear that we can put all those rumors to rest. And I think that would be a great thing. But if he doesn't show up, it doesn't mean he is going to retire, but it definitely doesn't end things. So,
well, one thing that I do want to touch on is this comment here. Trent doesn't need to play. He has lots of money. First ballot Hall of Famer gold jacket is waiting for him in 5 years if he retires now.
Agree.
I'm about to say something on Al Gore's internet. I was in Washington with Trent. Trent never got a first team ballot while he was never first team offense while he was with the Redskins. Never. He came here and he's got how many years has he been here? 5? He's been here 5 years.
Yeah, something like that.
He's going into his 5th year and he's got 2 first team. He's got 2 first team all pros.
I think he has 3.
He's got 3. All I'm saying is
all here.
It's all here. That's the sneaky thing that people don't realize. Trent's first team, his first all pro selection was here. He never made first team all pro when he was with the Redskins. Never. So all I'm saying is that Trent's very talented, but if we're talking about can't miss guys at the left tackle spot, Trent Williams does not have the same career as Joe Staley. Trent Williams does not have the same career as Orlando Pace. Trent Williams does not have the same career as Jonathan Ogden.
He does as Joe Staley. I'm pretty sure he does. But those other guys, yeah, probably not. I think that's
Trent Williams has been to 1 Super Bowl.
1. Yes. Yeah.
Joe's been to 3.
Joe was to 2.
2 or 3?
2.
2?
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that I'm not here to say I know offensive line like I'm I'm not trying to gatekeep. All I'm saying is that Trent came here and a lot of his persona has carried his play. But as far as the consistency of what offensive linemen give you at that left tackle position, Trent is highly talented, but I don't think, for what the Hall of Fame is, I don't think Trent Williams is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Not in my opinion. Now, if you want to go with all of the the pageantry stuff, like the NFL top 100, you know what I mean? Like that's player generated, or if you want to go off like Pro Bowls or stuff like that, then yeah, or PFF, Trent Williams is going to be, one of your guys all day, every day. But if you want to talk about just the consistency of being a dog and a force multiplier year in, year out, and the big thing for offensive linemen is 25% of your greatness is your longevity. There's no short-term offensive linemen that go to the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that Trent, even near the latter years of his year, he couldn't even finish whole seasons, that's a knock against him. I do believe that he's a Hall of Famer. I just don't think that he's first ballot.
Maybe he's not. Maybe that's close for me.
Because Trent was awesome coming in.
I can go either way. I will say this. I will say this. Trent Williams is not an all-time great left tackle the way that people talk about him.
Yes.
People talk about him like he's Anthony Munoz.
Yeah. Like they talk about him like he's people talk about Trent Williams.
Who was Buddy for Cleveland? Who was Buddy for Cleveland all those years?
Joe Thomas.
Yeah, he's not Joe Thomas.
He's not Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
No, he's not even close to Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas was in a whole nother stratosphere.
Yeah,
as far as and I think that because offensive line play isn't sexy, a lot of people don't know how to tell the difference. But the equivalent, in my opinion, of saying that Trent Williams is like the best left tackle you've ever seen is almost looking at I'd say it's like looking at Randy Moss. Nah, not Randy. That's sacrilege. I would say looking at Trent Williams.
Harrison.
Yeah, it's looking at Marvin Harrison and saying that he's like the best receiver you ever seen in your life, but completely ignoring Randy Moss and Jerry Rice and T.O. Like there's levels. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying. Like Jonathan Ogden, Orlando Pace, Anthony Munoz, those guys were like, you could put any edge out there. We're good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Trent, he came to a very loaded team and was allowed to highlight his skill set for a period of time. It was like Bobby Brown. He had 3-4 years. You know what I'm saying? But he wasn't like Michael. You can't say Bobby Brown was MJ. Bobby Brown wasn't MJ. You know what I'm saying? Bobby Brown had a couple of years, though. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about that. But I do agree with you. The sneaky guy in this is who we've been bringing up this entire topic is Trent. I really believe that the true holdout is Trent, and it has nothing to do with money, but everything with availability and wanting to actually play. Side-eye, we run the show here. You next topic.
Oh, right. Now I got 5 more minutes on this topic.
We got 5 more minutes on this topic just because of
5 more minutes. So listen, when it comes to Trent Williams, no, I'm just kidding.
All right. So let's knock out a couple of more super chats. We got one here, right here. Spider 199. Once Matt came, I knew Purdy was done. I think that's a little too much. We also saw that one. We saw that one. Eric's worst nightmare. Coach, please read this. Kyle is on the last year of his contract. You think he wants to have a new QB for his possible last season?
He has 2 years left on his contract.
Yeah, and I think that if Kyle Shanahan ever gets to the point where he's coaching on the last year of his contract, he's gone anyway.
But again, this is why you don't have to have a new QB. That's why you just don't pay Brock and you let them leave together if you feel like they're not it.
I like that. But I just feel like that's way too many moving parts at once. If Kyle leaves, you don't want Brock to be the bridge for another guy. You just want a guy to come in and just say, all right, man, go get your guy. I don't know. I just want to use him. I'd want to use him for a little bit more than just, Kyle being.
Let McCorkle be your bridge.
Yeah, maybe. Gammon Brown. What's up, Gam? $2. Thank you. Why can't we draft better in the third round? Because Kyle picks in the third round.
Because we take running backs every third round.
Everybody knows this.
Running backs, kickers, tight ends that aren't going to play.
Yeah, come on, bro.
Those
why? That's why we pick in the third round. We can't do better in the third round because everybody knows that's Kyle's round. JD, $5. Thank you. This is chess, not check. Come on, man. You hear him? It's chess. It's not checkers.
The shit's chess. It ain't checkers.
You gotta get it together. So let's move into our next topic. Outside of the trading down, best player available may be fool's gold in this draft. We've touched on it before, but let's get into it specifically. Best player available sounds good, but with the aging stars and roster holes piling up, should the 49ers instead prioritize depth and need for the first time on purpose this year, even if it means reaching slightly? What do you feel about this?
I think need should be a tiebreaker. If you have two players that are very close and you're like, I don't know, is it this player that it's at a position we could use less versus this player at a position that we really need, then go with the player at a position that you need. Like let that be the tiebreaker. But don't let it be the end all be all. If you have a player that is clearly the best player on the board, Ty Warren's a good example. I'm not that big on Ty Warren. I think that Loveland very well could be better. And if not, I think it's very close. But let's say the 49ers love Tyler Warren. He's clearly the best tight end to them. It's not close. He's there at pick 11. He's the clear best prospect. Then draft him. Draft him over a guy like Walter Nolan, who I love, that's clearly at a position of need. If you have them stack ranked pretty far apart, just go with the best player available. But if it's close, then you better go with a guy at a position of need. It's like, well, we think Warren's slightly the better prospect, but man, I can make an argument for Walter Nolan or whoever at pick 11, and it's at a position we need, then go with the guy at the position of need. But let that be the tiebreaker, not the sole reason why you overlook clear better prospects in your mind.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that where we sit in the draft at 11, right outside the top 10, we've talked about this before. I think the Niners have a very good opportunity to look at what's being taken out of the draft and kind of juxtapose where they need to be, kind of be where everybody's not, but don't, pick for the spite of just being different. I do believe that there's a lot of close players in this year's draft. We talked about defensive tackle. Defensive tackle, I think that there's not a lot of room from Mason Graham all the way down to, let's say, Omar Norman Lott. They're all different. They've got all distinct different weaknesses, right? But honestly, dealer's choice. They're all starters, right? Now, what type of starters they are is dependent on what scheme they go to, but all those guys are starters, right? Like we already talked about, Vernon Broughton out of Texas, starter, in my opinion, immediate starter, right? You look at, another sneaky draft class this year that's awesome, safeties, man. Usually safeties are pretty much, you get 1 to 3, maybe, if they're guys. But dude, I'm looking at guys all the way down. I mean, you know who else I wouldn't mind taking a looker on? Shiloh Sanders out of Colorado in the 7th round, or maybe for a fielder, right? But you got guys like Hunter Wohler out of Wisconsin. You got Billy Bowman Jr. out of Oklahoma, RJ Mickens out of Clemson, my guy Andrew Makuba out of Texas. But if you don't like him, you got Jonas Sanker out of UVA, Kevin Winston Jr., Xavier Watts, Malachi Starks, and then the cyborg, Nick and Eamon Warmy. So it's just, it's up and down the draft this year. I think that usually when we ask, how I got to take right now. This like literally just happened. You know how usually after the draft, they always have the excuse of saying we couldn't get our guy because somebody else got to him before us, or, we really couldn't do what we wanted to in this year's draft because we were really light on blah, 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 blah. This year, they can't say that at all, especially for what they need, right? How can you go into this year's draft and say, oh, well, hey, coach, or John, in the third round, we got a tackle and we got a corner. All right. But, in the third round, this is exactly where, you got to go D-tackle in this round. There's no way in the world they could look us in the face and with a straight face and say, well, there wasn't really a lot of value in the third for D-tackle. It's like, what? This year was loaded. What are you talking about? Right? So I do believe that this year's draft takes a lot of excuses out of, in a way, the reason why we get excited about later round picks is we do feel as though that those guys are, kind of like our pet projects, like they're not going to make the team, but, let's take a fielder on a guy with, a 500-pound bench, right? May not be nothing to look at on tape, but we could do something with that 4.2, right? Or we could do something with that 225 freakish skill set or something. I think that this isn't the draft for that. This draft in the 5th round, we're going to have people yelling at the screen like, you picked that guy with freaking Jalen Reed still out there? Like, there's going to be people that all of us see value up and down the draft. I think this is not a BPA draft. What do you think?
Well, I think it's interesting. You talk about the safety position, and that this is where the conversation should have gone earlier when you were talking about like, oh, Walter Nolan compared to, whoever in the 3rd round.
Vernon Bryant.
The conversation is this. Once you get into round 3, the difference between the round 3 guy and the round 6 guy really is minuscule, and it may lean towards the round 6 guy, depending on who you're getting. There really is a lot of depth. There's players that I'm super excited about round 5, 6, and 7 that are probably going to be there. I mean, Nazir Stackhouse, defensive tackle out of Georgia. Like, he might go round 7. I think he can be a rotational player in this league for a long time to come. The difference between him and a guy you get in round 4, is it really that big of a difference? I don't know. I mean, maybe
it's not.
So it's just, I think you're right.
And to your credit, Nazir Stackhouse could start at nose tackle today. He could start at nose tackle. And that's a guy who's slotted to go in the 7th round, 6th, 7th round. So go ahead, Jess. I'm sorry. But there's guys all over the draft.
I think, and that's why, like, when I'm hearing right now that the 49ers are just in love with Femi Oladejo, it's like, okay, you're going to take this guy at 43 potentially if he's there. And I think that could be a major mistake. I think there's a lot of guys you can get later that might be as good, if not better. And I think that'll prove out over time. So I think, and that's, pick 43 worries the hell out of me more than any of the picks in this draft for the 49ers. Not pick 11. Because
tell me why.
We know that pick 11, there's a lot of different options. It really is just take who you want. Pick 43 is when the draft starts to go. And there's runs on positions and all. That's the spot to me that I look at and say, okay, you did all this homework on 11. You decided your guy was this person. Now, all of a sudden, guys who you thought were going to be there are no longer there, or guys who you thought would be there at 75 probably aren't going to be there. That is where reaches start to happen. So for me, it's really pick 43 that worries the hell out of me. What are the 49ers going to do at 43? And if it's somebody like Femi, I think that is a major, major mistake, but I could see it happening.
Yeah. I got to be honest, Jesse, I 1000% agree with you. Here goes a sneaky topic. How did the Niners screw this up? Like, and the reason why I kind of went right into this is because this is kind of a dummy-proof draft if you just stick to what you need, right? There's an answer for every question in every round. How do we screw this up, Jesse? Because I think that I know us trying to be the smartest people in the room, like trying to trade down, get value in the fourth when we should be getting guys in the second and third round. I'm going to stop. Go. How do we screw this up, man?
I think when we talk about like pick 75, pick 100, pick 43, I think packaging and moving up 10 to 15 spots in those areas, or even later in the draft, like pick 113, what have you, I think that's where the mistakes can be made. Because again, I think if you just sit there and you're patient and wait till pick 138 instead of packaging that with 100 and moving up to go get a specific guy, I think there's plenty that can fall to you. I don't think that there should be certain guys that you're so in love with in the middle of this draft that you have that much higher ranked than guys that are going to clearly be there if you just wait and let it happen. And it comes back to being the smartest guy in the room. There are going to be players that you're going to bypass by doing that are going to be better than the guy that you just had to have. When you traded up to get your Isaac Orendo or your Cam Latu or whatever, like, don't do that this year. Just let the draft fall to you and take as many picks as possible. And one thing I think the 49ers deserve a lot of credit for that they have done, and this is what has made drafts salvageable in a lot of cases. When they're not sure, they will double up at positions. So if you get a guy at pick 113 and you're not positive, then go get another guy around later that's at the same position and make them figure it out. Just okay to do.
Yes. Honestly, if I see them have nervous twitches during the draft and they pick like 3 D tackles in a row, I'm fine. If that's what you had to do to kind of get out of the skid, if you're stimming right now and this is just one of your little weird quirks, I get it. But what I don't want them to do is to start riffing and dancing like a lane and throwing off the whole beat. Stick to the script. I don't want to see a trade up in round 4 for a long snapper. Or, you know what we're really going to do? We're going to go ahead and get a tight end, a slot receiver, and a guard. Like, no, I want them to stick to the script. Honestly, I want them to have the most predictable draft ever this year. Niners didn't surprise us at all. Went out, picked up 2 offensive linemen, 3 defensive linemen, got an edge, a safety, corner, traded back, called it a day. That's what I want. I don't want any head scratchers this year.
You and I had a debate a week ago, or not a debate, but a conversation where we highly disagreed. You still think Travion Henderson at 43 would be a head scratcher for you?
Yeah. Okay. Wait a minute. Let me pause. Number one, F you for asking me this question now, right after our 43 conversation, because you dressed that up real nice. Like, that 43 is what worries me. And I get it. Travion Henderson at 43 is a can't miss guy, right? I know what you're doing for it. You want I love how you asked this question literally after I just got off my soapbox about I want the picks to be simple and that they make sense. I'm going to curse you out after the show. But with new information, I can change my opinion. If Travion Henderson, no, you know what? Hell no. I'm going back. No, you almost had me. You almost got me. You almost got me, but you didn't. No, I would not want Travion Henderson at 43, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because at 43, if the 49ers cannot find a viable guy that either puts his hand in the dirt on the offensive or the defensive side of the ball, and they're telling themselves that the best thing that they can do at that moment is pick up a running back, then they're not trying hard enough. That's what I feel. We just got finished. We've been on here for an hour and 14 minutes pontificating about how deep this draft is, how much value there is up and down this draft. And you mean to tell me that the first head scratcher we get is not in round 4, not in round 5, but in round 2? You're already reaching in round 2?
This is where I think it's opposite for me, because I look at Travion Henderson, and if he's clearly the best player there, or possibly the best player there, and let's say the prospect that you like is Tyleik Williams, right? We both like Tyleik. He's not there. He got picked up, and Travion Henderson's there. Again, I think when you get to 75 through 138 or 160, there's a plethora of defensive tackles you can take that you can argue for that are basically the same as what you were going to get there anyways, because all the guys that you liked were gone.
Let me ask you this. At pick 43, would you take Omar Norman-Lott for defensive tackle?
Over Travion Henderson? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Or would I just take him there?
Would you take him there?
I can make an argument for it.
But more than likely, why? Why not?
Why not? Because I think that I don't know that he's the best defensive tackle available
at that position, right?
At 43, yeah. There's like 5 defensive tackles I can make an argument for that could be there.
I can make like 6, 7 that could be there.
Saying, yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is that these are the guys that make the money to understand who those 7 guys are at 43. Right? In my opinion, if you pick up a Travion Henderson at running back at 43, then that lets me know that you have not done your homework in this year's draft if you can't find 1 out of 7 of those guys above Omar Norman-Lott at 43. Because I agree with you. Omar Norman-Lott at 43 is a reach. He doesn't deserve to get picked that high, right? And the reason why he's a reach is because we've agreed that there are at least 5 guys that are better than him. At least, right? What I'm saying is that when the draft comes, all right, if those 5 guys are still out there, the Niners need to find that guy or they need to find somebody at 2. What you're saying is that BPA would be Travion Henderson. That's why I had the last comment up for the topic, which is BPA is fool's gold this year. Because if you go BPA, what you're doing is you're letting them off the hook for finding the best value. And the best value this year, in years past, best value was a loser's way out, right? Because it keeps you from doing the work and finding the true special guys out there. This year, in this year's draft, finding the best value is finding the best guys out there because it's so deep. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, let's have a little fun for a second.
Let's do it.
We're gonna look at pick 43. Okay.
All right.
Let's assume that ESPN is perfect on their top 100. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you the 5 defensive tackles that would be available at pick 43. Okay. So you've got TJ Sanders at 42. I'll give it to you. So TJ Sanders,
right?
Darius Alexander,
okay.
Omar Norman-Lott,
okay.
Alfred Collins,
right,
and Joshua Farmer.
Okay, the kid out of Florida State.
Are those guys that much better than the next crop of guys that are going to be there? We'll say 75 and later. So I'm going to give you the 5 guys that would be available at 75. You got Ty Robinson. Hold on a second. You've got sorry, this is pretty hard to read. Ty Robinson.
Okay.
I'm just going through them one at a time here. JJ Pegas.
Okay.
You've got Jordan Phillips, you've got Deion Walker, and you've got Vernon Broughton. Is the 5 at 43 really that much better than the 5 available at 75? If just based off this board, I don't think it is.
I would take. Hold on. Let me. Hold on. I can't say yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't say yeah and then not explain myself. Don't say yeah and then throw me off the plank. Jesus. Okay. Hold on, Blackbeard. So what I'm saying is I believe that Vernon Broughton is let's stick with Vernon Broughton for a second. Okay. I believe that there are guys that are linked to each other throughout this entire draft where one guy is getting the uptick and the other guy is kind of drafting off of the other guy's success, right? I think that these guys have played together well throughout their careers or certain years that they've been drafted, but I don't believe that there's a lot of standalone guys, right? In my opinion, I think that Vernon Broughton is very underrated. I think that picking him up in the second round is 100% viable. That is okay, especially for our needs. That's a starter, in my opinion, in the second round. That's good. I don't have a problem with that. And for me, making that pick versus a running back, no matter how good he is a better pick. That helps us better. There's only one ball, but we still got to put a team around the motherfucker with a ball. So I'm tired of getting guys I'm tired of getting skill guys, bro. Like, I'm not saying that they don't have their place, but right now, we need trenches in the worst way, man. We need trenches. We can't be fucking around with, like, high-priced athletes. We can't. We need trenches.
I'm just saying if we doubled up at 75 with, I don't know, CJ West and then came back at 100 and got your guy Broughton, I don't think you'd be that upset. And I think that that's something you could do. And you would be okay with that.
Who?
If at 75, we went with West, let's say, and then at 100, we went with Broughton or vice versa, I don't think you would be mad at those two defensive tackles. And you could pull that off and still get Travion Henderson. That's what I'm saying. I don't think the difference in defensive tackle from 43 to 75 is so drastic that I have to take a guy there. And we could do that with any position. I could do that with, somebody said, we'll do it with offensive tackle. First of all, Ariante Ursary is not going to be there. All right. So let's take him off the board. If I can get Anthony Belton at 75 or 100, tell me who at 43 I have to take that is so much better than Anthony Belton. I can't name him. So why not Travion Henderson if he's there? And I'm not saying Travion Henderson makes it there. I could see a scenario where the Raiders don't draft Genty. They take whoever and then double back and take Travion Henderson at, 35 or whatever their pick is, 37. I'm not guaranteeing that Travion Henderson's going to be there. I'm just saying if he is there, he's probably the clear best prospect available. Now, if it's him or Ariante Ursary, then give me Ursary. I agree with that.
I don't
think that's going to be an option for him.
The only thing that frustrates me about this is look, man, we're not in the position of drafting the guy and figuring out the rest. That's not where we're at, right? You got to be where your feet are. We're all walking in the same grocery store, but everybody's kitchen is different. All right. And right now, we ain't got no damn milk. We ain't here talking about buying caviar. The fuck? We need to get like basic groceries first. Like, my biggest thing is going to get a Travion Henderson with Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, knowing we don't even got a line to Bradford Christian's ass, just seems a little counterproductive, a little suboptimal. All right. All I'm saying is that, yeah, if you want to play the draft, yes, Travion Henderson is the best player available. Okay, you got me, Sheriff. He's the best guy, and I give you that if you want to play the draft. But you got to take that shit home after the draft is done, and you got to make it work in Santa Clara. And what I'm saying is that after you get a Travion Henderson, he's still got to run behind Jake Brindle. So all I'm saying is that we need to handle our business first, which means that, man, go get trenches. We got a deep draft with deep trenches. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves going to get a can't miss guy when we already done talked about that there's very few can't miss guys in this year's draft. That's why Travion Henderson's available at 43. Because he got some holes. If he was a can't miss guy, they'd be talking about drafting his ass in the top 10. But they not.
It's just an elite running back class. I mean, Genty and Omari and Hampton are that deal.
Look, man. Good. Look, I'm just talking about it, guys, man. Like, football is played from the inside out, right? And the last time I checked, we wasn't talking about how slow Christian McCaffrey looked or how the Niners can't get anything done. We were getting our ass whooped. Still got to handle the trenches. We cannot stop the run. And if you think Fred Warner looks bad now, give him a couple of more years without no interior defensive line. You think Nick Bosa looks bad now? Let him play a couple of more seasons without an edge.
I'm not saying, but you're making it sound like if you take Travion Henderson, you're neglecting everything else for the rest of the draft. That's just not the case. Someone said, Chris, Mr. 49er says, name a guy after round 3 at offensive tackle who can play games this year. First of all, Anthony Milton might be there. He might be gone by pick 100.
What was it? He said name a guy after what?
Name an offensive tackle after round 3 that can play games this year. Anthony Belton is one, but he may not be there. But to Chris's point, Chris, if you need a guy to play this year, that means that Trent Williams retired. And if Trent Williams retired, then guess what? They're probably going offensive tackle in round 1 anyways. So that doesn't detour us from Travion Henderson.
Look, saying that a guy is the best whatever in this year's draft is about as useless as tits on a bull, man. The draft, that matters until the 7th round is over. Right? What a guy is in the draft has an expiration date on it. Like, you can say that, oh man, Travion Henderson's one of the best running backs in the draft until he gets drafted. Then it's Travion Henderson is a running back in the NFL. What is he going to do with his teammates? Right? I don't want to get caught up in the former with ignoring the latter, which is, yes, the value matters in a vacuum. But what matters more is that the guys that we got value for, where everybody can pat us on the back and say, man, the Niners had a great draft. Yeah, I get all that. We could do that. But also, we do need to bring these boys in here when camp comes around and when you and I go to camp this year and we start looking at each other like, dog, we do not have no trenches, man. We look like a damn junior college team. Like, then I'm going to be looking at you like, yeah, well, give Travion Henderson the ball in. I'm going to be snapping on you in the stands.
But that's the point, though, that if you missed on people, then you missed on people. All you can do is draft the prospect. The point is
the price is right, man.
Travion Henderson at 43 doesn't prevent you from addressing trenches in this draft. That's all I'm saying.
It does.
No, it doesn't. No,
yes, it does. When
you
pick him at 43, you say what you're saying when you pick a player in the draft. Let me calm down. I'm yelling. When you pick a player in the draft, what you're saying is, I'm willing to wait my turn until a whole slew of other players are gone, until I pick again. And this guy that I'm picking, I'm willing to pick him and wait. If you tell me that your thought process, due to the season that we just had, is picking up a damn running back when you get your second chance at picking, I'm telling you that you ain't serious. With all of these defensive linemen out here, you ain't serious. What is he playing for the future for anyway? We already done paid Christian a boatload of money. We just didn't even pay. We didn't play.
29 years old.
We didn't play Jacob Coward just because Ricky didn't. So you mean to tell me that now we draft a running back who's better than Christian McCaffrey and Kyle benches Christian for that running back? Come on, Jess.
This is about having the best players over the next 5 years.
This is about. I get that. but this is also about taking the players that we're talking about and making them fit in real time with the Niners. All I'm saying is that having a running back drafted in the second round, all right, let's just take the Niners off of it, right? I think this is way too Niners driven. A regular team, if an NFL team drafts a running back in the second round, is that running back starting?
Yes.
All right, then. So if the Niners draft Travion Henderson in the second round, what is that? Not even, we already know what that says about CMC, but in what world do you see Kyle doing that?
Kyle does weird things, man.
Yeah, you can't even say it with a straight face.
Kyle does weird things. They need a running back. We act like running back is not a position of need, though.
And they let go of the one that they had. We can't even keep the ones that we accidentally draft.
But he never liked Mason, though. He never liked Mason. So he let go of a guy who he never liked. All right.
Right.
What does that mean?
Right. Then you trade up for Isaac Garendo. Then the next year you turn around in the second round and pick up Trey.
They've been doing it for every year. They've been doing it every year. You act like this is far-fetched. They've done this every single draft for 3 drafts in a row. 3 drafts in a row. So why is it so far-fetched that it could happen this year when they need a running back and we agree they need a running back? My point.
And then Tom off the Tom's supposed to be my dog, and then here come Tom off the third row. Tom, you're supposed to be my dog. Hey, Tom, this is nuts.
I love Damian Martinez in this draft as a running back, who I think you can probably get around 100, 113-ish, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But the difference between Travion Henderson and Damian Martinez is much bigger than the difference between, I don't know, whoever the defensive tackles we named, all 5 of them at 43, and the 5 that might be available at 75.
Okay.
There's a bigger difference there.
What I'm here to tell you is that
we made an argument together that rounds 3 through 7, you can get a lot of really good talent. Now all of a sudden we're poo-pooing that same talent.
All I'm saying is that for every Omarion Hampton, and you could talk about Damian Martinez, all right, there's Devin Neal out of Kansas. Okay,
sure.
There's Bashul Tootin out of Texas, out of Virginia Tech.
The difference between
Trevor Etienne out of Georgia.
Any of those guys is drastic. It's a major gap. That's what I'm saying,
bro.
The gap is major.
Our issue wasn't the fact that we didn't have a running back last year. Our issue was is that the running backs we had, we didn't use them right.
The issue was they didn't have a running back that they could trust in every single scenario the way that they trust CMC, and you can with Travion Henderson.
I got news for you.
Travion Henderson can block. Travion Henderson can run routes. He can catch, and he can run. They didn't have any of those guys last year, including Christian, because he was hurt. But when Christian was there, they know that the skill set is he can do all those things, so Kyle trusted that. That's why Jordan Mason's gone, because he couldn't do all those things, and Kyle needs that.
Number one, I don't agree. I don't agree. And this is my recap before we get out of here. We've been up here for 90 minutes. So here goes the deal.
I got one more thing after this, but you go ahead.
That's cool. This is what throws me about this, is that the only reason why Kyle thinks that he needs an all-world running back is because that's the last success that he had, which was Christian McCaffrey. Okay. I'm old enough to remember the best Kyle Shanahan offenses were running back by committee. All right. Not one do-it-all back. As a matter of fact, this offense is the antithesis of finding the workhorse do-it-all traditional back. This offense is predicated on finding one cutbacks that you can find literally anywhere in the draft. So going to go get a high-priced running back at round 2, meaning that the entire offense is going to be focused around him, is not only letting Kyle off the hook, but it's also letting the entire team off the hook on what we should be doing to get better, which is Here we go again with ass offensive line because we got Travion Henderson in the backfield. Here we go with no drop back or no red zone offense because we got Travion Henderson in the backfield. Oh, we can't count on Kyle to put an offense together this week because Travion's hurt. Oh, we really didn't get the ball to Trav. The man knows how to coach. I'm tired of us trying to make excuses to give him his fucking superpower, okay? That's not what needs to happen. What needs to happen is that Kyle needs to go traditionally build a football team. It's a big issue. And pushing Travion Henderson in round 2 is more of the bullshit of going to go get specific recipes instead of going to go get what you need to build a real team. How are we going to talk about getting a running back in round 2 and we ain't got no D tackles? We don't got no edge, but we at round 2 looking at Travion Henderson. Where they do that at?
Coach, you're giving Kyle way too much credit. That's my point.
Okay.
They had the best offensive line draft last year that we had seen in 20 plus years, and they got away with one offensive lineman and waited until round 3 to get him. Why do you think they left last year's draft, the best offensive line draft that we had seen in years, with, I lie, 2 offensive linemen. One of them never made the team and is not going to play for this team. So when I say one, they got one offensive lineman that was worth a damn in that draft that they actually drafted, and they waited until round 3 to do so. You think that not drafting Travion Henderson all of a sudden means that they're going to just go fix this offensive line at pick 43? That's the plan of Kyle Shanahan? Based off of what exactly? Based off of his ass needs to get the hell up out of here if he doesn't. I believe that this year, coming into this year, specifically off of the year that we just had, Kyle has got to build the team. It's egregious. We need to actually build depth, particularly in the trenches. I think that we have done way too much of overpaying skill guys, and I think that it's time for us to do the normal thing and pick up D-line, pick up offensive line. As a matter of fact, when we first started with this Kyle Shanahan regime, they were very bullish on saying that the team is about the defensive and offensive line. They start from the inside out. They used to preach that. Now, all of a sudden, because of certain guys getting paid, now they've changed that moniker. But they've always led through their front 7. They've always led through the trenches. I think we need to go get trenches, man. When we play the teams that beat us, they don't beat us because they be whooping our ass. We don't have trenches, bro. It's not a running back that we need. We need linemen. I don't disagree with that, but the point is that you're not foregoing drafting trenches in this draft because you take a running back at 43. You're foregoing in one draft position.
You can get running backs later in the draft.
You can, but the difference between Travion Henderson and Cam Scatterboo is a massive difference. I don't think it's that massive.
Okay,
well, then you haven't been watching the running back prospect.
No. See, and when I say that, I know exactly where you're going. You're going to literally Omarion Hampton pound for pound versus Cam Scatterboo. I'm looking at Cam Scatterboo and Omarion Hampton. Whoever the fit they go to and gets the best out of them is going to be the career they have.
I will tell you this.
If Cam Scatterboo comes here and has a way better career than Omarion Hampton, but Omarion Hampton's the better athlete, you think people are going to care about that?
Listen,
they're going to say that Cam is better. He's got a better team. He's got a better situation. What I'm saying is that bringing Omarion Hampton in here, he ain't going to be Omarion Hampton here. We don't even got an O-line. I'm done.
I didn't say Omarion Hampton. I said Travion Henderson.
I'm sorry.
The difference between Travion Henderson and Ashton Genty is a lot less than the difference between Travion Henderson and Cam Scatterboo. All you can do is draft the prospect. It doesn't mean you're always going to be right. You have to draft. That's all you have is the prospect. And the point is that Travion Henderson is so much better than any of those running backs that we just named, including guys that I like. All right. is so much better. The difference as a prospect is so vast compared to the defensive tackles that we name. Now, let me be fair and let me be clear. If Tyleik Williams is available at 43 and Ariante Ursary is available at 43 and Travion Henderson's available at 43, you better not draft Travion Henderson. Okay? But if those guys are gone and I'm choosing between the 10 defensive tackles over the next 3 picks that I gave you, give me the 2 that fall to me at 75 and 100. I'm totally fine with that because the difference between those guys and who I would have gotten at 43 is not that big of a deal. It's not. But the difference between Travion Henderson and Cam Scatterbo is a massive difference. So I can't pass on Travion Henderson to get essentially the same defensive tackle 30 picks later.
Let me ask you one question. Since you can notice the massive difference between Cam Scatterbo and a Travion Henderson, is there a massive difference between the need of us getting defensive tackles versus us drafting a running back? Or would you say those are on the same levels of need?
No. Defensive tackle is a bigger need.
Would you say the defensive tackle is drastically more important than us drafting another running back?
Of course, but I'm not.
All right. Hold on. Walk with me now. Walk with me. So if you can notice that a couple of freaking prospects, Cam Scatterbo and Travion Henderson, are vastly apart on what they've done in college, but you can look at your own damn roster and realize that you got the highest paid running back in the league and you got no line to speak of. None. But in the second round, you can still be so caught up in the prospects that you can't pick the best guy for the biggest need of your team right there. I would say that that's malfeasance. I would say that you're not thinking about your team. Go ahead.
Is nailing the defensive tackle position in this draft going to win the 49ers a Super Bowl in 2025?
The 49ers are not winning the Super Bowl in 2025.
Okay, then get the best prospect.
Fuck no.
Get the clear best prospect at also a position of need. Because this team has so many holes to fill.
That's a false equivalency.
It doesn't matter.
That's false because what you're trying to say is that the 49ers cannot have a successful season if they don't even go to the Super Bowl. But I'll tell you one thing right now. What has a better chance of happening? The 49ers getting 2 starting defensive tackles in the second round and in the third round and making the playoffs, or the 49ers drafting a running back in the second round and making the playoffs?
It depends on who that prospect is. Like I said, if it's Tyleik Williams, then go Tyleik Williams. But if it's Omar Norman Lott or Alfred Collins versus CJ West 30 picks later, then go with CJ West and Travion Henderson.
Okay. I see it differently, man. I don't like playing the draft, and I get it. Like,
you have to though. You can't. If there's a
no, you don't. The draft is a point in time. The draft is a point in time. Don't get caught up playing the draft because it's only 3 days. You still got to go back to your team. Don't get caught up, bro.
But if there's 5 defensive tackles taken right in front of you and no run on running backs, and the clear best running back that you have on your board is still there, and you got 5 more defensive tackles that you have graded similarly, and you know one of them is going to be there at 75, then you go with the running back.
There is no conversation that says that you know somebody's going to be there, and that's our problem in the first place. Thinking that we know shit. If there's a run on defensive tackles in front of us, and we need defensive tackles, your ass better bite the bullet and get a goddamn defensive tackle.
No.
Why? So you can go deeper in the draft and get shitty tackles?
If I have a 4th round grade on a defensive tackle because they went 5 defensive tackle deep before me, and I've got a 4th round grade on this guy, why would I take him at 43?
Because other people are picking with you, Jesse, and they know that the tackle that you think is going to be deeper in the draft is going to get picked sooner. People just don't wait,
guy.
Jesse.
That doesn't make any sense.
All right, so the guy that you see in the 4th round, you think that you can wait and nobody else sees that guy is going to be there?
Let him go. My point is let him go. He's not worth the pick 43 because you had a 4th round grade on him just because he plays defensive tackle. Who cares?
All right, bro. Okay. So you just rather not have a good defensive line at all just because of the market?
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. You don't take a guy at pick 43 if you have a 4th round grade on him because he plays a position you need more. If you have a 2nd round grade on this player.
So can I have one? Can I ask one question? Can I have one question? Then where do you get the starters? We need starters. We need starters.
I agree, but if you have a 4th round grade on a guy,
so if 5
he's not a
guys,
starter anyways.
Hold on, he's a 4th round guy juxtaposed to the guys you had before him. That's where he falls. That doesn't mean how you feel about him. It's where he falls because of where the market is. So if 5 guys get picked before the guy that you want, and you mean to tell me that you're not going to pick up the best that you have that's in the market, and you're going to say, well, I got a sneaky guy later. I'm going to go ahead and pick the best of another group and wait on the guy that I know is going to be there deeper. You don't think that the other 31 teams in the league are thinking that way?
My point is, who cares if he's gone? He had a 4th round grade on him anyways. You don't think they have another defensive tackle with a 4th round grade?
The draft is only 7 rounds. What are we talking about? So you miss someone in 4th, and now we get starters in the 5th and 6th round? You don't care?
You pick 30 picks later. What are we saying?
And I don't understand you, Jesse Naylor, today. I don't get it. We have argued enough. We've been on here for 1 minute and 45 seconds, bro.
You're crazy.
You're nuts.
Yeah. You're nuts. All right, read these super chats. Let's go.
All right, let's read these super chats. All right, son. I love you to death. Why can't we draft? But shut up. JD Derman's Chestnut Checkers. Aha's 499. Trading down is easier than done. Teams going to devalue those mid-round picks you want. I just trading down. Trading down is easier said than done. Teams going to value those mid-round picks you want. Exactly. We're not the only ones who have the same idea as trading down.
Whoa. Yeah, he's talking about in round 1 because if you trade down, you're going to pick up another mid-round pick is what he's saying. So trading from 11 is not going to be easy. I agree with that. Yes.
You don't know if he's talking about 11.
I 100% know he is because that's
he could be talking about. He could be talking about your trade too. He could be talking about your trade too situation.
I said make a pick at 43.
I'm fucking with you. Frisco Shields 199. Holland Pierce is Florida kid after with skill. I got you. Joseph Unberg 199. Can't wait to see Jesse disappointed again on Thursday. Lord. All day, every day, Kim $2. Some of y'all really think Scatterboo is that dude. Why? I don't get it either. All day, every day, Kim $5. The only thing Scatterboo has Kyle likes is one thing only. We all know he fits the Cabo Click. Yo, chill out, son. All day, every day, Kim. Coach thinks he's Ocho. I'll be wilding, bruh. Manhattan John 999. Thank you. This is the April NFL Niners content I want to see. Are you not entertained? Tyler Warner at 11. Sammy and Pickle $5. Talk a little more about LBJ and Aaron Rodgers. You both kill. Get a primetime spot at ESPN. Dog, if we talked about LeBron James or Aaron Rodgers, the conversation would be through the roof. Hey, man, Jess, this has been another great one. Guys, this was a good primer for the draft, man. Whose show is it tomorrow for Four Man Front? Is it Grant or you? All right. Tomorrow on Jesse's channel, the Four Man Front, it'll be me, Grant, and Ryan Hensley on Jesse's channel. Guys, loved every minute of it. This is the coach. Jesse, stay low and keep your feet moving. Talk to you guys. Peace.